something to remember before I... Okay, so al-itaq, it is freeing. So it is included into the mu'amalat. So mu'amalat is transactions. You know, it's my question, genuine question to you guys. Do you guys believe? So we have two things. We have, you can say, religious issues, and we have civil issues. Yeah. So do you think that fiqh is purely based on the religious issues, which means like imam, allama, etc., but civil issues is just court, you know, solicited, you know, these type of things? When I used to study, okay, I was very mutassib, you know, there is no any single letter in our fiqh which is out of religious. No. You know, over 80% of fiqh, Islamic fiqh, regardless any school of thought, including the Hanbalis, just civil matters, you know. Okay, so for which we don't need high level ijtihad in the based on the religious issues. Understand? But it will be based on the religious principles. And what are the religious principles? Justice and these type of things. Do you understand? For which we do not need mujtahid. Okay, but for example, for the ibadat, okay, fasting and these type of things, definitely for that we need religious mujtahid scholar. Okay, but for the mu'amalat as well as punishments, inshallah we're going to start tomorrow. For the punishments, we don't need religious based scholar. Okay, so we don't need that. Kitab al-itaq. Al-itaq is coming from the root of itq. Itq is freeing, letting, setting something, letting away, letting out something. I mean, setting free. So the default condition of the mu'amalat is all of the mu'amalat are valid if it is issued by a sane, mature person who is not limited. What's the meaning of being limited? So some people, their actions are limited. Am I right? Who are these people? Slaves. One of them, slaves, first category. The second? Minors. Children. Minors. Because we already included them. Because we said sane, mature, and not limited. So non-limited people, it is mature people. And sane people also. Who else can be sane and mature but limited?
Is there a difference of opinion on the bank of them?
Excellent. We have these. If you remember, we have studied last year something called mahjur alayhi. Mahjur alayhi is also limited. And also for the validity of the transactions, do we need maturity or not? We Hanafis. What is the main criteria of the validity of transactions? Obviously, by consensus, it is sanity and maturity. But we Hanafis disagree with this point. Am I right? We say only one condition, which is excellent, to be sane. But what about maturity? What Abu Hanifa said about it?
If the guardian allows, then it's fine. So long as the person understands.
That's what it is. As long as guardian allows, gives permission, so the transactions of the immature kid is valid. Okay. So based on that, limited people are not only mature but could be immature according to Abu Hanifa. So one more category, it is immature sane person but could be limited. الصبي العاقل محجور عليه. Okay, so that is the general thing. What about the women? they do not fit into. It's not limited. No, not limited, but not sane. First criteria is not there, so their transaction is not valid. Okay. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about women. اوكي سيدي. قال المصنف رحمه الله ونفعنا بعلومه وبركاته بكم آمين. العتق يقع من الحر البالغ العاقل في ملكه. فإذا قال لعبده أو أمته أنت حر أو معتق أو عتيق أو محرر أو قد حررتك أو أعتقتك فقد عتق. نوى المولى العتق أو لم ينوي. وكذلك إذا قال رأسك حر أو رقبتك حر أو بدنك حر أو قال لأمته فرجك حر إلى آخره. So العتق يقع. So the setting free, like setting someone free, is valid if it is established by al-hur, okay, free, al-baligh, mature, al-aqil, sane, fi milkihi, in his own ownership. So he can set free anything which is in his ownership. Now my question to you guys, al-hur, freedom. So why is he saying that he has to be free to set someone free? Why?
Slave doesn't have property.
That's what it is. Okay, so because slavery contradicts with possession. He does not possess anything. Does slave receive inheritance? Yes, anyone please.
Is it if he becomes free and is the mawla of his master?
No. Let's suppose that father and son. Father is free man, son is slave, for example. Father dies. Does son get his share or not? Okay, so I'm leaving this question with you guys. So okay, so that is her. So because slavery contradicts the position, so that's why it is automatically included. One thing. Al-baligh, we spoke about it many times. Okay, so we have disagreement. We have disagreement within Hanafi school of thought. Obviously, the official Hanafi position is Shafi'i position. Okay, introduced by the students or grand students of Abu Hanifa, taken from the Athari scholars, which says possibility starts in the boys from the age of, for the girls? Why? You see, do I have any Human Rights Watch? These two, it was not me. Yeah, so for the girls it starts from the age of 9. Okay, for the boys it starts from the age of 12. Okay, but then obviously then we expect the signs of maturity, like ejaculation, etc. But then if they do not get it, then automatically they become mature by age, which is 15. So it is purely based on athar. Okay, which athar? Single chain narration. Why? Because Bukhari narrated, Sayyidah Aisha had, consummated the marriage with Rasulullah on the age of lie. Okay, so but anyway, that is the official Hanafi. Abu Hanifa says both boys and girls become mature by age, which is 18. Okay, so but it is unofficial, non-official position. Okay, but then does Abu Hanifa consider ejaculation or a growth of the hairs here, the etc.? Does he consider that as a sign of maturity or not? No, it's only age, 18 years old. Okay, so anyway, so that is baligh. Al-aqil, what is the opposite of aqil? So for someone to be able to set up valid transaction, so he has to be aqil. So what is the opposite of aqil? I'm not Layla, No, he's introducing, Okay, so we have two types of junun. Junun mutbaq and junun muwaqqat. Junun mutbaq and junun muwaqqat. Am I right? Mutbaq is permanent. But then if you remember, in different chapters of fiqh, junun mutbaq is interpreted in two different ways. Am I right? So what is junun mutbaq in Kitab al-Salat?
5 prayers are over.
If you remember, small disagreement. Am I right? Some said al-jins is a lot, and some said takrar is a lot. Do you remember? And then we left it like that without giving priority to any of them. But anyway, so that is in the chapter of Salat. But what about in the chapter of Siyam?
All Ramadan is mutbaq.
Entire month is junun mutbaq. Junun mutbaq. But what about the muamalat? What about the muamalat? What is junun mutbaq in the muamalat? Where is Oldham Sharif? Because when the classroom is quiet, it proves only one thing. Oldham Sharif is not there. So in the muamalat, it is entire life. Understand? So anything lesser than that, we call that in the muamalat junun muwaqqat. So their transaction will be valid during that time when they come back. When they come back. Okay, so that is the first you can say or second category which stays side by side with aql. So aql, majnoon, and we have third one, which is, so majnoon is two types, mutbaq and muwaqqat. And what about the third category? What do we call them?
Safi.
Excellent. Safi. So what do we do with them?
There's a difference of opinion.
So
So Abu Hanifa says his property is given to him at 25.
yeah,
So the signs of intellect are there or not for the Sahih until intellect is seen on him.
okay. So Safi, obviously they are غير مكلف. According to Abu Hanifa, Safi is غير مكلف in terms of the they are not mukallaf in terms of, that's it, ibadat. But what about if they damage someone's property? Are they mukallaf to refund or not? Yes. So they are responsible. Okay, so it's the same as children. They are responsible if they damage. Am I right? Yeah. No punishment, but financial responsibility. Because they do not intend. Safi does not have niyyah. With no niyyah, no punishment. But compensation, yes, definitely. Because the reason of the compensation is not crime, but damage. So, dewana causes damage. Okay, but he cannot commit a crime. For the crime, you need intention. Anyway, so that is Safi. So, Safi.
The judge will decide.
Mawquf is not valid. Okay, so it will be okay. Excellent, good, mashallah. You guys did not forget, so that's really good. Okay, so we can fi milkihi. As we spoke about the types of the statements, so we do have sarih and we have kinaya. So what's the difference? I'm not talking about the like verbal difference, but the actual as an effect. So what's the difference between sarih and kinaya?
Sorry, we don't need intention.
That's what it is. Thank you, Jazakumullah khairan. For the sarih, you don't need intention. So even if you do not intend, will it be valid or not? So, but I did not intend. So I was joking. Is it valid or not? Yeah. So sarih automatically counts. We have only one weak opinion. For me, it's not weak. For me, it's very valid. Okay, but anyway, in Hanafi official school, it is weak. It is coming from Imam Ibn Nujaym, radiallahu, is quite recent. Okay, 800s, 900s. So he says, even for the sarih, we need intention. Okay, but obviously because we Hanafis became Atharis, okay, so we have single chain narration says ثلاث جدهن الجد. Do you remember وهزلهن الجد? So do you remember? So three things. Even if you joke, it is serious or serious. So what are these three things? Are you married? This lady is. Women are all the time about divorce, you know. Okay, so divorce and slavery, because they are concerned about their own thing, you know. Yeah, and our thing is, yeah, Bologna. Fourth one, marriage. So these are three things: marriage, divorce, and freedom. So based on that, they extracted. Okay, so it's just overlap in all of, even the Shia, they consider that Sarih does not need intention. It's pure Athari position. Okay, so anyway, so if you issue your freedom by Sarih, so it will be automatically valid, regardless you intend or not. So he says, that's what he says, إذا قال لعبده أو أمته أنت حر. So if he says to his slave, أنت حر أو معتق. معتق means freed. Okay, freed. أو عتيق is also freed, yes. أو محرر, again مفعول به. أو قد حررتك, indeed I have freed you. أو أعتقتك, I have freed you. فقد عتق. So by all of them you set a freedom. نوى المولى العتق أو لم ينوي, regardless if master intends to set a freedom or not. وكذلك إذا قال, and on the same way if he says رأسك حر, your head is free. Yeah. أو رقبتك, your neck is free, you know. أو بدنك, or your body is free. And according to in our time, because in our time we have new limbs, am I right? New human organs. What do they? Huawei, your iPhone is free because part of your body, undetachable part of your body. Because the main thing is, if you attach the freedom or divorce to the undetachable part of the body, it will be valid. So, if you say to your wife, your finger is divorced, is it valid divorce or not? No. But if you say your iPhone is divorced, it is valid because it's undetachable, understand? Because the main criteria in Hanafi school is any organ to which you attribute the freedom. So if human cannot survive, cannot exist without that, it is valid. So mobile phone, you know, in our time. أو بدنك. Obviously, this is not valid. I mean, it's not applicable in our time because it is just in Arabic, you can say, conversation. Okay, so they would say, so for example, they would say, God bless your eyes. So in Arabic language, that would mean God bless you. Do you understand? But in our, for example, in English, we do not say that, do we? We do not say that. So it is just purely, you can say, linguistic thing. So we cannot apply it in our time. Yeah? Unless we have, for example, in Urdu. So if you say someone's face, you mean him, am I right? I think even in English, okay, his face means himself, isn't it? Yeah. أو قال لأمته so it is, as I said, okay, so anything which without which can, it is just linguistic thing. It does not work. For example, in English language. Okay, Sayyidi. وإن قال لا ملك لي عليك. So if he says, so any kinaya words that you use, that requires intention. So if you intend to set a freedom, so then yes, or else no, we say no. For that we need intention. So that's why he says, وَإِنْ قَالَ لَا مِلْكَ لِي عَلَيْكَ. So if master says, I do not have a possession over you, وَنَوَى بِذَلِكَ الْحُرِّيَّةِ, and his intention is to set freedom. So then, so now my question to you guys, why this word is kinaya? In my understanding, it should be sarih. Am I right? Because what's the meaning of slavery? What's the meaning of slavery? Exactly. So if I do not own you, so that is sarih. Am I right? Or is it kinaya? Quduri is saying no, it is kinaya. Why? Yes, please. Why is he saying it is kinaya? Because the meaning of slavery is ownership, possession, milk, possession. So you possess your slave.
Is it because ownership could be different? Like
Exactly, exactly. Aha, no, that was good trick. Now look, first part is right here, because ownership in here could be real ownership that belongs to God. Understand? But this one is not real ownership. Do you know the possession? So it could. So maybe he's talking about that. So because of that possibility, we say it is kinaya and not sarih. Understand? Yes, Eddie.
Was they having a conversation and the slave says, will you free me?
Yeah.
And then the owner says, I have no ownership over you.
MashaAllah.
Doesn't intend.
Good point. What do you think?
I would say he'll be free then.
But what about if he says, I did not mean that?
would you apply
The
tuhma?
situation.
So, do you accept what he says, his intention?
Because of the context.
Yes. It is tuhma. Because of tuhma, we do not accept. But he could be right. Okay, but maybe what he's trying to say, it's not in my hand, because if I will set you free, then I will have, maybe that what he, so could be right, but because of the context, that is the mawqif tuhma. So because of tuhma, we disregard what he says. I mean, in terms of his intention, but we take the context. The context is, slave asks for the freedom, master sets him free. Excellent point. Understanding, catching up. It's a bit complicated, so if you don't understand, just ask me, okay?
So we said that this part is Kedaya,
Yeah.
but why would that be Kedaya? I've missed what you said, sorry.
Okay. So, who can explain the meaning of sarih and kinaya? What's the meaning of sarih? It is explicit statement, which does not have any other meaning. But kinaya is, it is a word which could mean this or could mean many other things also. Yeah. So because of that, we have to specify. And what can specify? What specifies the kinaya? Either intention or context. Do you remember this Sahabi? So this Sahabi, so he said, there was this Sahabi whose mother was accused in adultery. Okay, so this Sahabi has fallen into the trouble. So another Sahabi said, so in the friction, he was having friction with that the Sahabi. So he said, at least I know who is my father. It is kinaya, am I right? So Umar radiallahu anh brought the Sahaba saying, are we applying the punishment of slander or not? Sahaba said no, because he said, the second Sahabi said that he knows his own father. Okay, so the vast majority said no punishment. Umar radiallahu anhu said, if he wanted to praise himself, he had many other things to praise by. Why did he specifically was stuck in this, considering that the mother of the other Sahabi was accused also? So Umar radiallahu anh applied. Definitely what Umar radiallahu anh. So that is the fiqh thing. So anyway, because of context, because friction creates context, am I right? So because in the friction, you do not praise yourself, but you insult your opponent. So Umar radiallahu anhu applied the principle that we are using in here. It is kinaya, yes, but context specifies the meaning. Did you get it? Yeah. وإن قال لا ملك لي عليك. So if master says, I do not possess you, or I do not have an ownership over you, ونوى بذلك الحرية. So and then he intends to set a freedom, عتق, free. وإن لم ينوي, but if he does not intend, لم يعتق, because it's وكذلك جميع كنايات العتق, and that how all of the kinayas of the عتق. وإن قال, if he says لا سلطان لي عليك, I do not have a sultan over you, نوى به العتق, and he intends to set a freedom, لم يعتق عليه, that is not valid. I want to ask you why. Milk, ownership, sultan is also ownership. What's the difference? Why sultan is not kinaya?
Sultan here city and it's talking about the governor.
Sultan, he says لا سلطان لي عليك, I do not have an ownership of you. Obviously this is not applicable anymore because language has evolved, because milk and sultan in our time are synonymous, but in Quran is different. So sultan, tasaltana alayhi, sultan, it means it doesn't match with our school of thought, but it matches with Ash'ari and Hanbali school. Sultan is, do you know, marionette, do you know, the person who plays. So I'm sultan, do you know? So it's like computer. So it's not king, does not order, but controls actually. Do you understand? So sultan in here is only applicable on God, okay, based on that. So that's why it will not be, in that time, it wouldn't be accepted as kinaya, because it is sarih in the one who controls the actions. Do you understand? So as you see, it is only applicable in Ash'ari, Athari school of thought. But obviously Imam Quduri is Athari Hanafi scholar. He's similar to Tahawi. وإذا قال, if he says هذا ابني وثبت على ذلك, أو قال هذا مولاي أو يا مولاي عتق, وإن قال يا بني أو يا أخي لم يعتق. If he says to his slave, he is my son, or he is my mawla, or he calls, oh mawla. So obviously in all of them it will be valid, because هذا ابني. So we spoke about it in usul fiqh. Do you remember usul shashi? هذا ابني. Do you remember the mitafa? Does mitafa come after the statement or after its actual meaning being valid? Disagreed upon. Abu Hanifa says after the statement. Do you remember? Based on that, if you free your slave who is older than you by saying he's my son, that is what according to Abu Hanifa, because his statement linguistically valid. Do you remember? We spoke about it. So it is mitafa. أو قال يا مولاي, because what's the meaning of mawla? So if you remember, if you free a slave, so he is your mawla and you are his mawla. So if you say to your slave, oh mawla, oh my mawla, means you freed your slave. Yeah. But what about if you say to your slave, ya bunay, oh my son, or ya akhi, oh my brother? Will it set up freedom or not? Did you guys have a lunch? So that's why everyone is silent. Are you going to order something from Chingy Chicken? For me, I want Atlantica masala, please. One portion. Shall we have a break? Are you guys fine? Shall we carry on? So, because when you say, oh my son, normally we do make these type of statements just to show, like, express, you can say, sympathy, isn't it? Yeah. But when you say, he's my son, not so it is to set up a friend. So that is metaphor. But when you say, oh brother, so it is way of calling someone in gentle way. So that's why you will not be freeing your slave by these words. وإن قال لغلام لا يولد مثله لمثله هذا ابني عتق عليه عند أبي حنيفة رحمه الله تعالى وعندهما رحمهما الله تعالى لا يولد. Obviously we spoke about it. So it is a person, for example, you say to someone who is older than you, he is my son. So Abu Hanifa says it is valid to set a freedom. Sahabain say no, it's not valid. So we spoke about it because of that dispute in terms of the mitafa. So do we take the mitafa if the literal meaning is valid or not? Abu Hanifa says no. As long as statement linguistically is valid, we go for the mitafa. But Sahabain say no, we need to go for the meaning also. You know, in fiqh we have something called takhrij. We spoke about it, did we? Takhrij. What is takhrij? So, for example, this statement, this disagreement between Abu Hanifa and Sahabain. Now question. Did Abu Hanifa explain why did he make this decision? No. Or did Sahabain explain why they? No, they did not. How do we know?
Later scholars.
So what did they do? These scholars, later scholars, what did they do?
They look at examples and they try to see
This action is called takhrij. Takhrij. Okay, trying to analyze and give interpretation. Okay. Unfortunately, the takhrij became necessary. I mean, accepting the takhrij of the scholars became non-disputable. But it is not right, because it's possible that one scholar will make one takhrij, but maybe so it's not necessarily right. Am I right? Because it's quite subjective matter. Okay, so we should leave the gate of takhrij open. Understand? Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, just to go back further up from the beginning where the first two statements, the first one being, you know, when the master says there's no ownership over you,
Yeah.
and by that he intends to freedom.
Yes.
But then in the second statement when he says I have no authority over you,
Yeah.
and he intends setting that person free, but that person isn't free.
Yeah.
It's like a less immediate.
Yeah, because I just explained that, you know, it is pure linguistic thing. Imam Quduri in here is going with Quranic language. It's very possible that in the time of Quduri, Sultan used to have exactly the same. So the one who is in charge, in control. Do you know, for example, you have a robot and you control the robot. That is Sultan. You are Sultan of the robot. But king, you just order. Person can obey or disobey. But when you are Sultan, doesn't have a choice to disobey. It's pure jabr. Do you remember? So master is not Sultan of the slave, because he can order, but Sultan may disobey. So, but Sultan means, but then later, for example, in the later generations, even king has the title of Sultan. Am I right? So language has evolved. So Sultan does not have the same meaning which used to have in Quran, but Sultan means king. So it's totally, so that's why what Imam Quduri said in contemporary Arabic language cannot be understood. So contemporary Arabians will make the same problem as you did, because what's the difference? But it is Quranic Arabic. Quduri is using Quranic Arabic, which is not used anyway for a long time. Okay. وإن قال لأمته أنت طالق ينوي به الحرية لم تعتق. So if someone says to his she slave, you are divorcee or I'm divorcing you, to free her, we said it's not valid. If you remember in Usul Shashi, we spoke about it. Do you remember? Because if you remember, we said mitafar has two roots. Am I right? From the sabab to musabbab, or from the illa to ma'lul. Do you remember? So if it is illa and ma'lul, we accept the majaz from both sides. But if it is sabab and musabbab, we accept only through one way. Sabab for musabbab, but not musabbab for sabab. So it is in musabbab for sabab. We do not accept it. I hope you guys are not you didn't understand what I said. Am I right? Yes, because that's what exactly I wanted, because I wanted us to understand. We don't care about them, No, in Usul Shashi last year, do you remember we were talking about how you can use the mitafar? I mean, what's the route to follow in mitafar? Do you remember? So if majaz mursal and majaz musta'ar, do you remember? We spoke about it. Majaz mursal and majaz do we still have the recordings? Please go back to that and watch it again, because at least about 1 hour of explanation of that. Okay, just go back to that. So in here, if you say to your she slave, I'm divorcing you, so you are using the weak root for the mitafar. So it's not illa and ma'lul, but sabab and musabbab, and you are using musabbab for sabab because ownership over the sexual, you can say actions, that is musabbab, and the sabab is the ownership of the slavery. So you can so because of that you cannot use the sexual ownership, which is musabbab, for the sabab, which is ownership. Do you understand? So just go back to the thing and you will understand it then. وإن قال لعبده أنت مثل الحر لم يعتق. So if he says to his slave, you are similar to the free, so لم يعتق. وإن قال ما أنت إلا حر عتق عليه. But if he says you are nothing but free, so then free. Obviously it is just linguistic things. وإذا ملك الرجل ذا رحم محرم منه عتق عليه. If you possess, regardless how, anyhow, if you possess your relative, he automatically becomes free. So for example, you go and buy your brother, he will be automatically free. But obviously only the criteria in there is ذو رحم محرم منه. Who is this ذو رحم محرم منه? It's mahram, but it is specific category of mahram. For example, your cousin is your mahram, am I right? But is she for you ذو رحم محرم منه? No. So who is? She's ذو رحم, relative. But is she muharram? No. So who is ذو رحم محرم منه?
Siblings, parents, children.
Yeah, give me the actual definition and then I will understand it.
Blood relative who you call married.
Blood relative to whom you cannot marry. One last condition.
Forever.
Permanently. So because your cousin, she's married right now, you cannot marry, but permanently. Good one, excellent. Unfortunately, the fiqh is one of those subjects, if you do not do mudhakar, you forget, unfortunately. Okay, سيدي. وإذا أعتق المولى بعض عبده عتق عليه ذلك البعض ويسعى في بقية قيمته لمولاه عند أبي حنيفة رحمه الله وقال رحمهما الله تعالى يعتق كلهم. Obviously it is again pure linguistic disagreement. If you free half of your slave, okay, so what's going to happen? So obviously we do not have in fiqh anything called half free, half slave. We do not have that. Okay, but then Abu Hanifa says obviously half of the slave is free, means gone for free, no charge, but for the second half he has to work and refund. Okay, so for example, if the value of the slave, let's say £10,000, so master is just granting 5,000 from his pocket, saying, so you are free, half, 5,000, but the second half, because I paid for you, so go and work and pay me back, and you are just free. Okay, but Sahabain say no, it is full freedom. Slave does not own anything, he doesn't have to pay back anything. Pure linguistic, so it's just language has evolved, okay, between Abu Hanifa and Sahabain. Because if you remember, وإذا كان العبد بين شريكين فأعتق أحدهما نصيبه عتق فإن كان موسرا فشريكه بالخيار إن شاء أعتق وإن شاء ضمن شريكه قيمة نصيبه وإن شاء استسعى العبد. Okay, so that is the first scenario. وإن كان معسرا, I hope, no, وإن كان المعتق معسرا فالشريك بالخيار إن شاء أعتق نصيبه وإن شاء استسعى العبد وهذا عند أبي حنيفة رحمهم الله. Okay, so anyway, the scenario is such. Me and you will have a slave, okay, and then I free my half, my share, okay, and I'm wealthy. Now you have two options, okay. You can chase me up, okay, because I caused damage, or we can or you can ask the I'm sorry, you have two options: either you also free your share or you chase up the slave, okay, for the second half. We have something called ضمان التغرير in fiqh. Okay, so it's all of the Sunni fuqaha agree on this one. Now, what is ضمان التغرير? ضمان التغرير is compensation for the deception. So linguistic translation is compensation for the deception. Okay, so obviously it's not limited for the deception, but compensation for the damage. So right now, so if I am wealthy, you have a right for the ضمان التغرير. Why? Because I have damaged the business. Why? Because slave was, for example, our investment. So by freeing half of the slave, I did cause the damage. Understand? Okay. So that's why you can chase me off for the compensation. Okay. But in here, I do believe that Abu Hanifa is using some type of istihsan, which I do not. I don't understand Abu Hanifa in here. I have to double check if it is his actual position or he's not making sense. Okay, so based on this, if I'm poor, ضمان التغرير is void. You cannot use your right of ضمان التغرير. For me, it does not make sense. I have to double check this issue. Okay. So anyway, we have slave, me and you, we are partners, and I set my half free. Okay, if I'm wealthy, you have three options, including ضمان التغرير. You can chase me up, or you can set the slave free for the sake of God, free, or you can ask the slave to work, استسعاء, سعاية, to work, to refund. But if I am poor, then exactly the same three options, except the first one, ضمان التغرير, is what? I know Abu Hanifa classes, keeps the ضمان التغرير in very high regard, Inshallah. So just go back to the previous lessons, you will see. Okay, because because Abu Hanifa does not discharge the person from the responsibility because he is poor. Do you understand? So I don't know which technique did he use to do this, but for me he's not making sense to me. He's contradicting his print. I don't know. I don't understand him. So anyway, وقال أبو يوسف ومحمد رحمهما الله تعالى ليس له إلا الضمان مع اليسار والسعاية مع الإعسار. Okay, so according to Sahibain, there is only two ways. If if partner is wealthy, so I'm responsible to refund, and if I'm not wealthy, then only slave has to refund. I didn't understand this one. عليه وكذلك إذا ورثاه والشريك بالخيار إن شاء أعتق نصيبه وإن شاء استسعى العبد. So this one is another thing. Most likely it is not from Abu Hanifa but from Sahibain. وإذا شهد كل. Okay. So it'll happen automatically. My share will be freed. Am I responsible or not? Don't look into what he says. Use the principle that you already know. Am I responsible to refund or not? Why?
Because you were partners, and if it's going to be half free, the other person is going to be affected because the slave is free now. So investment.
But slave is freed not by my choice, but because of hadith, single chain narration. So why do I have to be responsible?
Because you chose to buy that slave, you could have bought.
Exactly, because I knew that he's my slave, and I knew that this is going to happen. So look, what is the compensation for? What is the punishment for? It is for the damage which is caused deliberately by intention. And when intention will be there, when you knowingly do something, do you understand? So that's what default condition. I don't believe this is the position of, most likely it is Sahibain. Wallahu alam. There are a few places in which we think that is the position of Abu Hanifa, but later when you dig into it, you understand that it is actually some of the later mashayikh made takhrij, and based on that they said, because of that Abu Hanifa says X, Y, Z, but it is just pure takhrij. Understand? So because look, punishment is always, according to Abu Hanifa, attached to the deliberate action of the sane, mature person. But poor, wealthy, does not matter. You are sane, you are mature, you have to be responsible for your actions. Understand? That is the default condition of Abu Hanifa. I don't know, in the previous issue, he went against that. Maybe some type of, or could be takhrij also. We have to double check that. If you guys have a time, just go to find out. I do believe either it's takhrij or either it is misquotation, Wallahu alam. I don't believe it's the position, or else I'm missing something. So anyway, now coming back, so two people, two partners are buying the son of one of them. So obviously the share of the father will be freed. Okay, so let's put a condition just to keep the text authentic. So we say, and both of them knew that it is his son. Okay, only then will fit. Okay, then text will be authentic. So وَلَا ضَمَانَ عَلَيْهِ. So father is not responsible to compensate. Okay. So now the next text is ruining our condition which we made up to authenticate the text. So he says وَكَذَلِكَ إِذَا وَرِثَاهُ. And on the same way, two partners, one of them gets inheritance, and in his inheritance his son. Okay, so let's suppose that me and you, we did شركة مفاوضة. Do you remember شركة مفاوضة, شركة صناعة? Do you remember عنان وكذا? So what is the شركة مفاوضة? شركة مفاوضة is 100% partnership. Do you remember? Yeah. So in that type of partnership, in مفاوضة, I get inheritance, and in the inheritance, it's my slave. I mean my son. Okay. So obviously right now, am I responsible to refund my partner or not? Do I have a penalty on me? Why? Because it was not my choice. Someone dies, it's not my choice. Do you understand? So now it makes sense, yes. Okay. وَإِذَا وَرِثَاهُ. So if two partners understanding, everything's fine? Ladies? Are you guys fine? You know, that's why I said, you know, mobile phone is undetachable part. So if you want to divorce your wife, say your mobile is divorced, I say it is valid divorce, you know. Not only one, but 3 valid divorces, you know. Okay, so وَكَذَلِكَ إِذَا. So if two partners, one of them inherits his son as a slave, so obviously his share will be freed. But what about the partner? So he has got damaged, I mean, he has got harmed by his partner. So وَالشَّرِيكُ بِالْخِيَارِ. So the partner has a choice. In sha'a, so if he wants, أَعْتَقَ النَّصِيبُ. So he will just also set his share also free. وَإِنْ شَاءَ. But if he wants, اسْتَسْعَى الْعَبْدَ. So he will demand the slave to work to pay back his share. وإذا شهد كل واحد من الشريكين على الآخر بالحرية سعى العبد لكل واحد منهما في نصيبه موسرين كان أو معسرين عند أبي حنيفة رحمه الله تعالى. وقال رحمهما الله تعالى إذا كان موسرين فلا سعاية، وإن كان معسرين سعى لهما، وإن كان أحدهما موسرا والآخر معسرا سعى للموسر أو للموسر ولم يسعى للمعسر. So now we have this case. Both of the partners are claiming that his partner has freed his own share. So both of them are claiming the same thing against each other. So in that case, we ask according to Abu Hanifa, we ask, this makes perfect sense. So we ask the slave to make si'aya, to work, to refund both of them, regardless if they are wealthy or poor, regardless. So slave will refund them both. Because who is the one who is gaining from entire dispute? Who is gaining? Slave. So we ask him. Okay. And according to Sahabain, so if both of the partners are rich, so slave is not responsible to refund. But if both are poor, so then he will refund them both. وَإِنْ كَانَ أَحَدُهُمَا. But if one of them is wealthy and the second is poor, so the person, so he will be working, I mean he will be making si'aya for the wealthy. It's based on the hadith, on the athar. ومن أعتق عبده لوجه الله تعالى أو للشيطان أو للصنم عتق. So we had crazy people even then, you know. If someone frees his slave for the sake of God or for the sake of Satan or for the sake of idol, so it's valid, you know. Who cares, you know? What does he worship? What we care is a slave should go, just walk away, you know. Especially if he is crazy, so it's better, you know. Okay, guys. وعتق المكره والسكران واقع. So the one, do you remember the case of ikra? What is the ikra? The one who is forced, person who is forced. But what is the valid ikra? So for example, you are forced to divorce your wife and then you divorce her. Is it valid or not? According to Abu Hanifa, yes. According to Shafi'i, no. But then, what is the valid ikra? So, in our school, we say the valid ikra is if someone threatens to kill you or to give you huge pain, unbearable pain. We say that is valid ikra. Then why do we need the valid ikra? So because the action of the mukrah, the one who is forced, his actions are not valid. Understand? Except in few scenarios. So anyway, but what about if, for example, someone comes to you and forces you to do something, but he is not threatening to kill you or to cause you huge damage? That is not valid. So if you do something, we say that is valid. What you did is valid. Why? Because ikrah was not valid, so you did it by your own choice. Understand? But then what is the meaning of, so obviously life-threatening, that's obviously we know. But what about the huge pain, huge damage? So that could be either physical damage, so by beating up to the point that it's unbearable pain, or losing, for example, cutting, a finger. So that is valid. Okay, or it could be, you can say, emotional pain. So for example, you will go to this let's say MP, okay, and you will say, just behind it, so you will say either you say XYZ, or either I will slap you on your, in front of the masses of people. We say that according to Abu Hanifa it is valid ikra. Because for the noble people, their reputation is above the physical pain. Do you understand? So now, for me, it does not make sense. It does not make sense why the divorce and the freedom of the mukrah is valid. Isn't it that it's out of your choice? So for example, you have been forced, you married someone's cousin, and her cousin came to your house saying, I wanted to marry her, you divorce her right now, or I will kill you. You divorce her, Abu Hanifa says it's valid. Shafi'i says no, it's not valid. So what Abu Hanifa said does not make sense to me. It's out of your choice. Especially Abu Hanifa is the one who says, do you know that MP example is coming from him? But in here he comes back to contradict himself. Why Abu Hanifa is supporting or giving big hand to the cousin of your wife? Yes. What's that?
Is it just because the words are sarih?
Yeah, of course. Fuqaha said, they said because it's sarih, coming from the mature and sane person. But Abu Hanifa gives regard for the ikrah, in many masail. But in here, he comes back to contradict his own position.
Is it because of the hadith?
Yeah, excellent. It's not his position. Abu Yusuf, rahmahullah, he is the one who made the statement and then attributed it to It's not from him. But so what is the hadith? So athar is there was this Sahabi. So he was very tough, Bedouin mentality. So anyway, he used to beat his wife. So once his wife actually, she was fed up. At night she brought her knife, sat on his chest and on his throat, said, either you divorce me or either I'm going to kill you. So just to please her, just to save his life, he said, okay, I'm divorcing you. Next morning they took it to Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar radiallahu anhu said, yes, it is valid. Obviously, the Athari Mashayikh, they took the literal meaning of it. Obviously, Umar radiallahu anhu is very, he's great philosopher, he thinks very deeply. Not like, oh yeah, haddathana fulan, yeah, no, it's not that. He has big brain, For me, makes sense. What he said makes sense. So he was not using the word of the husband, but he was using his position as Khalifa. Because Khalifa is above judge, am I right? Because he's the one who appoints judge. Judge has the right to separate between husband and wife in many conditions. I do believe that Umar radiallahu anhu, he was using his position as Khalifa and not what Sahabi said, because being forced, but because of the circumstance in which lady, because he understood that lady, because women, so they sacrifice a lot in order to save the family, am I right? But we men, we give up quite easily, am I right? So he knew that, Umar knew that, he understood that if she went to the point to threaten, means there is a lot to this story. So he said, I'm separating them. So he was not saying, yeah, his statement of divorce is valid, but I'm separating them as Khalifa. That makes sense. That is Umar that we know. Okay? Radiallahu anhu. So anyway, it is pure Athari position. It's not the explicit statement of Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu. Sorry? I just started. Because then I need another, about the same time to heat up again, Okay, what time is it? Because...
So 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it is... so after that we'll have about 1 hour. Let me see. So Tadbir, Mukatab. We didn't get even to the half of what we wanted. They just backbite a lot. I tried to explain, but they were just giving me jokes. About all of this. Okay, let's have a short break.